Gear and Beer.
Welcome back to Gear and Beer. Cheers, sir.
Thank you very much.
Today our guest is RJ Ronquillo, and he is a guitar playing dude faux show. Oh, I cheer. I'm bad at that. I cheers and then I don't drink.
You gotta drink it. Drink it.
You would think I would be better at drinking beer by the 35th episode?
36th
episode. Man. They're stacking up quicker than
I know. Time goes by.
It does, man. Thanks for coming out today. Appreciate it, man. Well,
Yeah.
It was fun to jam with you. I love listening to you do demos and like all the wide variety of style that you throw down.
Thank you.
Just like an encyclopedia of tones and
It's fun.
You make it look fun. I don't know like you know, but you make it look fun, and it's guys like you and Corey and other guys that are making videos, and I'm just like, oh man, my videos look like shit.
No, they don't. You got really nice lighting here.
I do. Thanks to Mark Jones. Mark Jones gave me these and then moved to Chattanooga for some reason.
Not yours now.
Mine now, unless Mark wants them. He can have them because he's a sweetheart. So you guys live across the lake here, and just for anyone that doesn't know Nashville topography, there's a river dammed up to make a lake, and all of the neighborhoods refuse to allow bridges. So to get 0.7 miles away, it's about a 35-minute drive. So thanks for doing that.
Well, because you got to know the river goes like this, right? So it's like you got to go all the way around and then down and all this stuff.
It's brutal. Like all these neighborhoods shut down the ferries and refuse.
There's ferries?
There used to be. This is Walton's Ferry, and this other one over here on the other side of the peninsula was Sanders Ferry.
When was there ferries?
I don't know how long ago it was, but I've only been here since 2014. There have been no ferries.
Do you know where Johnny Cash's house is?
I do.
Okay.
It's on the next peninsula over. Yeah. Over by Dustin Lynch's house and Marty Stewart's house.
That's the Calabasas of Nashville, y'all.
Yeah, it's literally next door to Marty Stewart's house, if I'm not mistaken. I took the fiance's dad over there, who's like a old country super fan. Mm-hmm. So
nice.
We went over there. That was fun. Anyway, what have you been working on today, man? Like, you're a guy that's working on stuff
today.
But you said that you hadn't picked up a guitar, really, so...
No. In fact, I dropped the guitar today.
Oh, man.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, no.
That is the opposite of picking it up.
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
I'll get over it.
Damn.
Like,
I'll get used to it.
Is it rendered
it's fixable.
unplayable?
No, absolutely not. It's playable, and it's repairable. It's...
You said you didn't want to talk about it. I'm sorry.
That's all I can get into.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's okay. It's just, it's always a bummer when you get a little dent in your guitar. This was a big couple dents.
When you're as clumsy as I am, you're just like, as long as it doesn't like dent the fretboard or bend a fret or something. Is that what happened?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because if it was a fretboard thing or a headstock neck thing where it like
functionality of playability,
it's
none of that.
Yeah, it plays fine. It's really just cosmetic and affects the value. But other than that, I'm fine.
That I can understand. Yeah, like I said, most of my everyday workhorse guitars, like things that I'm taking out of the house or anywhere not to sessions and cases and under strict supervision. I say that, but I pretty much play all my guitars everywhere. I'm kind of
I don't baby them.
reckless. I certainly don't either. And people are like, I've got a 60s Strat of my dad's, and people are like, I would never take that out of the house. I'm like, well, then why would you even have it? You just going to play it in your bedroom?
Yeah.
It's a vibe machine, man. I want to play it. I play it downtown for gigs,
Well, that's why I buy relics or, whatever you want to call it. But I've been doing that since, 20 years ago. I bought a Fender relic telly.
Like a custom shop one?
Yeah, custom shop.
Yeah.
It was like my first relic guitar. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to gig with it, no problem. One of the gigs, I was living in Florida at the time, South Florida, and my gig bag zipper, I guess, was open. And I walked out to my car, and I heard this bang, and the guitar was on the driveway, and the one of the tuners had broken off.
Oh,
So
that's a bummer.
But I just replaced the tuner, and you couldn't tell, if it fell or not because it was a relic. And
Dude, I ran over my. So painful. I was leaving a gig in Chicago.
yeah,
And I had multiple guitars, and I left one of the gig bags leaning against the side of the car.
oh no, and you left.
And it was night, and I backed up. I went all the way to my apartment, not very far away. Got to my apartment, realized that I had left it, went back and went to the parking area, which is like the alleyway. And as the headlights kind of crept up to the gig bag, I could see tire tracks across the headstock. I opened it up, and it just popped the high E string.
Oh my God!
What guitar?
My white telly. So my cheapest. It's like a Franken telly, right?
But none of the wood was broken or anything.
None of the. It's fine to this day. I still play it.
What case was it in? A mono?
No, dude, it was in like one of those like Gibson guitar like gig bags.
Oh, those triangular looking ones. Yeah.
Like they're not. I mean, they're not shitty, but they're not
super
stout,
old school.
You know?
Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
what my '94 Les Paul Studio
Yeah.
came in the 6th grade or whatever.
Right.
Thank God.
And one of
However
those-
long ago I was in 6th grade, I don't even know if
Bolt-on
that's
solid
accurate.
body guitars.
Dude,
Yeah.
It's the acoustic stuff and the art, the semi-hollow stuff you got to worry about.
in my experience,
very-
any Fender,
oh yeah.
it's just like, yeah, throw it on the ground. Who cares? It's fine. They don't
My
care.
favorite way that I've heard a telly referred to is Brad Paisley said it's just a cutting board with neck and strings.
Basically.
That's fair. I want a functional butcher block guitar body so that I can track something and then dice some chives and
I
make
guarantee
it
somebody's done it.
Have you seen those videos that what's his name, Jim Lilt or something? It starts with an L, but he did like a very in-depth analytical video on tone and like if wood or something depends on the tone, and he like did all these experiments with like building like a fake body and all this crazy stuff that I would never have the time to get into. But he did it, and it was really, really interesting. He's like the Bill Nye of
I'm definitely gonna
guitar
watch that.
tone.
Yeah,
I'm going to find that.
please make a note of that once you find it. I'd love to include that.
Hey,
in the
also
show
while I'm
notes.
thinking of it, can you tell us about the guitar that you were playing in the jam?
Sure.
Hey, will you flip that screen around so I can
Yeah,
monitor?
uh-huh.
Thank you.
So this is
Beautiful.
it's called a Bunting. Bunting is the company. It's called the Willow model. And Bunting is in Israel, and it's a small, I want to say there's like 3 or 4 guys that work at the shop.
Awesome.
And they have a couple different really unique body shapes, but this is, I got this last year, and this is kind of my current number one as far as like just what I pick up usually.
It feels great. When I played it a second ago, are the frets like slightly scalloped or something?
I don't think so, but like if you can,
They have a
yeah, I think
curvature.
the ends. I think he might have sanded it a little bit to smooth it.
Oh, okay.
But
I mean,
I
it
don't
looks
think
awesome.
the fingerboard is. It's just really comfortable. There's no fret
is.
sprout or anything.
Yeah.
But the whole premise is he kind of builds it with acoustic properties in mind. So acoustically, it sounds. You probably might not going to hear it through the mic, but
sure you will.
It rings really
I can
great.
hear it. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. D-Armand, T-Armand pickups. TV Jones T-Armands which I've never had a de-arming guitar before.
Me either.
So this was a surprising thing. But yeah, 24-inch scale, which is like super short.
That is pretty short.
Okay. Is it Jim Lill?
Yes.
Okay.
What did I say?
No, I think you said I couldn't tell if you said Lill or Lilt.
I think I said
but
Lill.
it came up immediately. Is it like a 10-minute video or is it
he made like 2 or 3 videos
Okay.
like focusing on the wood and all these different properties.
Like
And,
resonant frequency kind of tests, or
I don't. You got to watch.
Yeah, I
This
just wanna
title
watch
is
it.
kind of like, does tone wood matter? But this looks like it's a commentary on the video that he made. So I'll find the original and link it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a good one.
Well, that guitar sounds great, and
Thank you.
it played really good. I didn't. You got the 11s on there, so the tension didn't feel out of whack to me. Bending stuff.
It's very comfortable. I mean, normally I'm a 10s player.
Sure,
sometimes
same.
less. Like I'm never an 11s player except for this guitar.
Interesting. I'll do it on 11s on like an E flat guitar,
Well, yeah.
but not because of Stevie Ray, just because that's the way I comfortably plays an E flat to me.
Oh yeah.
And some of these gigs, you got to cop parts or half step down guitar. I hate it when there's like I'll do downtown gigs and somebody will wait till I get there to tell me that we're tuned down. It's like, oh, bro, I got I got other guitars for this.
You don't know the secret though? You got to get the Digitech Drop.
So that's what I've heard. And what's the other one, Lyndon? That what's his name was talking about?
Electroharmonics? Pitchfork?
Oh no, it was
the Pitchfork is one of them, but I think you can only
no,
go
it was
up.
the polycapo in the HX.
Yeah.
That's what-
Oh,
that
was
Mike
it Carl that we were
It was
talking to
Mike
about?
Khalil.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a. I don't. We talked about it, but I don't really like the HX one very much, and the Drop is tolerable. I think it
The
changes.
drop
it,
sounds
for
good.
sure.
I've definitely played with people that use the drop.
Yeah, the drop is definitely.
Mike was saying he used that polycapo and the HX or the Helix or any of those units to transpose up to B flat and play in an open
Really?
in open A stuff for the Randy Hauser gig.
I wonder how that sounded.
It's some weird. It's you have to like really tweak it for it to not feel like there's latency. But then when you tweak it, it's like it's not like there's like it's not like it doesn't completely track. But if you do any, so you know how like fifths and fourths and octaves are more. There's less like tension.
Mm-hmm.
You can like they track better for some reason.
Sure.
Those intervals track better than like
yeah.
a third or a tritone or something. It doesn't track like odd intervals, especially bass interval, like in the bass register. you know?
Right. Man, just get a rainbow machine and hit the magic button and turn that shit all the way up.
Or
That's all
just
you need.
bring a couple of guitars and a capo.
That's what I like to do. There is something to be said for, parts that are played open, playing them open as opposed to capoed.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Sure.
How much you gigging, man?
Let's see. I had 3 gigs last year.
Right on.
I was only supposed to have 0. But I said yes to 3 gigs.
Well,
So my story is I stopped gigging at the end of 2018
okay.
just to focus solely on videos and YouTube stuff.
Sure.
So I'll say yes to certain gigs if it's
Right. Something that you can and want to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this year I've done 1 gig. And that's
Oh.
it.
Well, it's already been 1 quarter, so you might accidentally
I might
mess
do
around
4.
and play 4 gigs, bro. Quarterly gig.
That's my max.
That's awesome, man. My schedule has turned to a lot more spending time at the house, doing video stuff and tracking stuff. But I'm a slave to gigs. Like
Yeah.
big or small. I just like to play.
Yeah.
I also like people to pay me.
Oh yeah. That's always a good thing.
Okay, so you're not gigging much. Do you not miss it?
I
I mean,
miss
what you're doing is
elements of
awesome.
it.
I don't mean to take away from
No,
that.
not at all. I do miss elements of the excitement of playing live, but it's not enough for me to start gigging regularly or touring or whatever again.
Yeah. Touring is one thing. That takes a whole different mindset.
Yeah. I'm still open to doing tours and everything, but I'm just so dialed into what I'm doing at home. Plus, it's like, I'm working for myself, so that's something nice as opposed to working as a sideman for other people.
Sure.
And, I like it more than gigging. So if there comes a point where I start hating it and I'm like, I need to get back on the road or start playing live
surely
again.
not. It's, again, like I said, you seem to like generally be having fun in all of your videos, and again, just like
it's all
the
an
different
act.
vibes and yeah. You're just mad about the editing you're about to have to do when you're done.
This overdrive pedal again. This is the 5th overdrive pedal I've done all this week. No.
Well, hey man, pedals are cool though.
It is. It's amazing how, I don't know, in the past 5-10 years, how the pedal industry has just like blown up,
dude,
relative to like guitars and amps and stuff.
I don't even know how you keep up.
I would say 90% of my video work for the year is just pedals.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do a little bit
a lot of them, man.
Yeah, and that's, I'm so thankful because of that. That's what kind of keeps me employed. Is really
McCarty.
the pedal. Yes, sir. Me too.
Yeah, will you grab him a home style?
Both of y'all?
Me one of these, and turn the air conditioner down a couple of clicks.
Temperature-wise?
Yes, make it colder. I am hot and sweaty. I'm not sweaty, but I don't want to become
You
sweaty.
don't want to be sweaty. No.
It's the plastic piece. There is a little dampness there. For that, I apologize.
That's all right.
It seemed like I was perusing the internet today, waiting to go pick up my fiance's car from the shop. Yay! And it seemed like the last few videos that you had done, there've been like a lot of like fuzzes and like really like different ones.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's a seasonal thing because like normally we'd have NAMM in January,
Sure.
So you get an influx of pedals coming out December, January,
That makes
February, or
sense.
whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. Someone was asking me on my live stream last weekend that like they've noticed a lot more fuzz stuff on my channel, and they were wondering if it's because the companies send the fuzzes to me, or that they're in general more companies have been putting out fuzz pedals. And I think
Yes,
I think
is
more
the answer.
Well, no, I guess yes, but also yes, for sure. I think the companies have been creating more fuzzes, and I think
Seems to be more
I think
demand
it's-
for them.
yeah, I think it's Red
Almost.
Shull's fault.
Well,
To be honest with you,
it may very well be.
not mine.
Yeah, it's not RJ's fault. No, nothing but nice things to say. Okay, children. No. What? So I'm not going to ask you to pick favorites, but what's a pedal that blew you away recently?
Well, the most recent J Rocket Lombre pedal, which they label it as being kind of like that Texas sizzly Billy Gibbons thing, but I didn't get that. I got like just a really cool. It's one of those pedals that low it sounds really great overdrive, but the more you crank it, it gets into fuzz territory, which I like
Yeah,
those pedals.
sure.
So it's not really. It doesn't do distortion. It's just like
Right.
thick and overdriven-y and stuff.
Sure.
So that one I really, really like. I'll probably put that on my main board. But
How many boards are you rocking?
in my studio, I've got 4 pedal boards hooked up via a switcher,
Okay.
so I can cancel them in and out
Sure,
as I want. But I've
you
got
don't
one.
have your signal going through 85 pedals.
No, no. It's still really noisy, and I have to use like 2 buffers to make it work.
Have you tried that the EUNA, the 29 pedals EUNA?
Is that the one with the 3 switches? I have not. What is it? I've seen it.
So it's some sort of preamp buffer, and if I remember correctly, it's got the 3 dip switches, and I forget what the values are, but you can like only boost, so it's not boost or cut, and it basically just whatever is happening to your tone, you have a little bit of control over, because it comes back through as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if it's hitting it at the end or the beginning.
Interesting.
But you go through it, so maybe it's the preamp and then the buffer on the way out, or I can't remember, man.
So it's got a lot of inputs and outputs or something.
I think it's only one, one in and one out. Well, I'm sorry. So I guess it would be 2 ins and 2 outs.
Okay.
No, 1 in, 2 out.
I've seen it, and it's very like nondescript. There's not a lot of labeling or anything, so I have no idea what it does.
One of our guests, Gideon Boley, had one on his board, and he did not have it on the show, but he and I played a gig a few weeks ago, and I was playing bass, and gracias.
Thank you.
And he had it. Lyndon, if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of pull up the 29 Pedals EUNA, EUNA, when you get a moment? It's that buffer that I think Gideon had it on his board when he was here. I don't remember for sure, but he definitely had it on this gig, and it sounded awesome. And he like spent some time on the gig, like showing me. He's like, you know, when I plug it into a deluxe,
he didn't have it
I
on
use
his board for sure.
Do what?
I don't remember seeing it on his board.
See, I don't think so either, but I also don't trust my memory on what is on everyone else's board.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of guitar pedals, and I've seen a lot of them on Instagram, and
there's a lot.
There's only so much that I can do these days. I catch myself looking at Instagram or something, or YouTube, and sometimes I still fall down the wormhole a little bit, but otherwise I'm like, nope, okay, I've reached my limit. I have to go work on something.
That's good.
It is good, but I also miss stuff, and damn it, I don't want to miss stuff.
Oh, I miss stuff all the time.
There's so much stuff, and so much of it is like really good. So I don't want to miss I don't want to miss anything inspiring, or
it's not going anywhere.
That's fair, but then the mean old algorithm machine won't show it to me.
Oh, and then you'll forget about it.
Exactly.
So it's out of mind.
Bandwidth. I got a bandwidth problem up here. Right. So this is something that I've been asking people lately, and again, people are wanting me to be more interviewee. So I'm trying to get to whatever it is that is. Anyway, do you listen to music recreationally?
I do, but not in the sense where I just sit down and put on headphones and listen to records.
Sure.
I used to, you know, growing up and everything. Most of my music listening recreationally, I'll listen to music when I'm doing the dishes and when I'm driving.
Sure.
Occasionally, I will, when I'm at home and I have, free time, which is very rare.
Sure.
But I do make it a point. And in bed, I bought these really great sleeping Bluetooth earbuds that they're on a string so they don't, fall out of your bed or whatever and you lose them. And so I've been listening to music going to sleep lately. And what was I listening to? I think I was listening to Django Reinhardt last night, which is probably not the greatest thing to fall asleep to.
I can't listen to music to fall asleep because I'll start listening to music.
Oh, no,
that's my problem.
I start having extremely vivid dreams.
Interesting.
Which is great because it's like, smoking a bowl.
Yeah, it's a nice...
Without smoking a bowl.
Yeah. Well, and they actually say that marijuana inhibits, or THC specifically, inhibits the layer of sleep where you do dream. So a lot of people that smoke a lot of weed don't have dreams. Don't have those dreams. So
interesting.
So if you smoke weed, you won't achieve your dreams.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do drugs. Don't do school. Stay out of drugs.
Dear and
What I've learned is when you're sick, brandy is good. Hot toddies are good.
No shit.
Anything else, beer is awful.
Sugar
Anything
probably
else-
thickens mucus. And
But
stuff.
like those can actually be helpful to you, especially hot toddies with like lemon and honey. Oh,
I feel like that was some fucking sage advice that you
what
just
is a
gave
hot
us.
toddy?
I'm gonna
It's
try
like
that next time.
Tea and whiskey.
whiskey, and then lemon and honey.
I was gonna say
and it's
lemon.
hot and it feels good.
Yeah.
And it's like not, it might knock you out, so just drink it at night. But it
I'll
can
drink that.
actually help you. Well, I'm not a doctor, but it's helped me feel better the next day.
You're a doctor from the 1880s.
Here, drink. Take this cocaine.
Smoke a cigarette.
You'll be fine.
Drink this elixir.
Getting fat, smoke a cigarette.
Are you feeling depressed and anxious? Try these.
Heroin.
Kingston. You try these. Heroin right into your veins. We're already rolling. I don't
Keep
know
it.
how much of that. Yeah, we'll keep it. Okay. It's been announced that will be kept. We were talking about music before we had to do the blah blah blah. Then who cares? Nobody does. You were listening to Django.
Yeah.
Do you ever like? Do you ever go down the rabbit hole of like letting one of the streaming sites like predict stuff based on other stuff and then get into something new?
Yeah. And it's fun because
I love it.
I'll discover like, oh, I've never heard of this band, and they're freaking great. I just heard of a band called Moonwalker yesterday. I don't even know how I got that, how it appeared to me, but I started listening to some of their stuff. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. 2-piece. I mean, they're a 2-piece, but production-wise, there's bass and
Sure.
But pretty cool stuff. Oh no, it was Justin Hawkins. He's got a YouTube channel. Justin Hawkins from The Darkness. He's the singer from The Darkness, and he's got a YouTube channel called Justin Hawkins Rides Again, and he just kind of comments on musical stuff, and it's really, really intelligent and interesting. And I think he was doing a reaction video to this band Moonwalker, and I'm like, I discovered it through him. But then from them, I started discovering other bands that I sort of had heard of in the past, like this band called Royal Blood.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just
That's a
like,
cool band.
I forgot about this band. I was listening to them a couple years ago.
I forgot about the darkness.
There you go.
Man,
Yeah.
They just played here a couple weekends ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think at Brooklyn Bowl or something.
I still haven't been there.
That's a great venue.
It's a great venue, yeah.
What did you guys see there?
I saw Ingrid Andress there.
Oh,
She killed.
I played one of my gigs last year there.
oh hell yeah. Yeah, I want to go there. I need to go there. It's only been open for like a year, right? Maybe.
A year. I think it opened last year, maybe early last year.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right.
Officially.
I think it was about ready to open, and then COVID, and so then it didn't.
Yeah.
Is that what the deal? Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. Because I know it's been there for a while. I also lose track of time.
There's a big trend of bowling alley concert venues.
That's true.
I never had those growing up, and I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and then as I got older, I think one sprung up. I think it was called I can't remember, Majestic Bowl or something, where it was like hipster bowling alley
Yeah.
concert venue on another level, and now there's at least two in Nashville.
I mean, it makes sense because, like,
What's the second one?
Eastside Bowl.
I
oh,
don't
that's
even-
right.
I don't even know about that place.
That's down the street. That's in Madison.
Oh shit! So there was a Bronco Bowl in Dallas that was the same thing, except for it had a big like bowl auditorium and then like a club. I saw.
Oh, like
George-
it was built as a bowling alley concert venue?
Yeah, but it's called Bronco Bowl.
Okay.
and it was in Dallas in like the late '80s and then on into the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I saw Outkast and George Clinton, not together, but both in the bowl auditorium, and then I saw like Dio and King's X and the rock club part of it, and then I went bowling there once.
That's great.
But I didn't know that there was like Brooklyn Bowl. I didn't realize that it was. I just thought it was like the Bronco Bowl, in that there was a couple of different venues in it, and I didn't, because I still have never spent a moment in New York.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird, as much as I have toured and as many places as I have in fact played.
Go in the summer, spring and summer. You'll hate it in the winter.
Just like Chicago.
Exactly. It's just like
see
Chicago.
that I like that though. I don't know that I'd ever.
Do you
want to
remember
live
unloading your trailer in negative 20 degrees in Chicago?
I mean, yeah,
I don't know
that's
that you
the one
didn't like that.
that is among the coldest I've been. But the problem wasn't that it was cold outside. The problem was that the heater on the RV froze and.
And you guys parked in the most open spot imaginable, and it was also windy.
Yeah, it was extremely cold experience.
I think with bowling alleys, I think a lot of them, just by the nature of a bowling alley, you got a lot of space. I think a lot of them converted to have stages. I did a couple of really dues paying country gigs in Chicago at this particular bowling alley, and they were not good.
Where in Chicago?
Dude, I don't remember. It was a suburb. It was
okay.
Joliet or something.
Joliet. Yeah, there's a lot of
suburbia
CD clubs out there.
Rotting Americana.
Yeah.
Rotting Americana. You heard it here first, folks.
That's my East Nashville folk metal band.
Rotting America. Man, speaking of folk metal, I used to know this banjo player back in Texas who, with his brother, had a metal band, and the beginning of it was just the swampy banjo thing. Into one of those kind of, but the rest of the song.
Well, what were they called?
I cannot remember. But it was an extremely avant-garde project and kind of cool. Bluegrass metal. Don't know that I've heard that before or since. So
I've seen
if you're looking for a
Hank
niche.
3 many years ago, Hank Williams III.
Yeah, that's true. He does half show country, half show
then
metal,
half show
right?
metal. Yeah. That was okay, so this is a great story because this is early South by Southwest. This was early 2000s before it got huge or whatever, and I saw Marty Stuart and then Hank 3 on the same bill in the same club. And I was like, Marty Stewart, this is great. Kenny Vaughan, all this stuff. And this is nice country. And then Hank 3 gets on and it's like, what the fuck?
The wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Crazy.
With Joe Buck on bass. Oh my God, he's crazy.
That is I've seen clips. I've not been to a show, but that's an interesting.
It was fun.
Interesting.
It was probably, the juxtaposition between Marty Stewart and then Hank 3.
Tempted by Marty Stewart into Hank 3. Tempted is such a slick 50s kind of a sound to it, You know that song?
No.
Tempted by Marty Stewart. Great song. It's a great song.
I thought you were going to sing it for us.
Google it.
Yeah. Google it, baby.
Tempted and tried deep down inside. I can't deny I'm tempted.
That's one of his biggest hits.
4, 5. Doom, 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 doom. Anyway.
You're a fucking encyclopedia.
I played lots of gigs, Lyndon. I know half of most songs.
What's your most interesting gig story? That's always a good.
The most interesting from a musical aspect, or from just the whole surrounding circumstances?
The whole event.
The most interesting gig that I've ever done, there's two of them, and they both involve Vinnie Paul. One was my metal band played at the album release party for Rebel Meets Rebel, which was David Allan Coe and Vinnie and Dime.
Yeah, I remember that album.
At the Clubhouse in Dallas, which is Vinnie's strip club. And when David Allan Coe arrived, he came walking in the back door of the club. He was wearing a floor-length purple coat and a white hat with a feather in it. He had a revolver in one hand and a
This
bottle
is David
of...
Allen Coe and
Yes.
oh my god.
And he's like 65, and he's got a revolver and two ladies of the night with him, very clearly, but he's like, it's like he's like a video shoot, except it's not. It's just his life.
Wow.
He looked like Kid Rock in a video shoot. He had a gun and a thing and the hat and glasses and a floor-length purple fur coat.
Like that's how professional wrestlers walk into.
Well,
the
exactly. And like everybody in the room just kind of like stopped talking and it was just like, wow, man.
Dude, I had a very similar instance. I was living in Chicago. I was playing with this guy that was touring, opening for oh shit, who was it? Tesla?
Elon Musk's band.
yeah. Every show they launched a Tesla into space. No, but the bass player walks in. Is the very first gig. Walks into the like catering and he goes, "Are you guys eating this fucking slop?" And then he goes, "I need to fuck something. Somebody get me a whore."
What venue was this?
I'm not even fucking kidding, dude. Like probably 20 minutes later, I saw him with a lady of the night, as you put it.
Yes.
What venue was this?
This was
With catering?
It was it was like across the border. It was like some it was like a theater in Indiana, somewhere across the border. I don't like Gary or
Theater in
something.
Indiana. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a casino or.
It wasn't a casino. No, we did like the sort of like, it was a cool circuit, like Pabst Theater in Milwaukee and like aging theaters.
I love
Yeah.
those. My favorite places. To
Really
play.
cool. Yeah.
So much vibe, and they always sound good, even if they're like shitty.
But he walked up as we're eating catering. He was like, "What's this fucking slop that you're
This was the
eating?"
bass. Your bass player?
No, the bass player for Tesla. But Frank
I'm
Hannon.
assuming it's the original bass player.
He is. Dude, they were a fucking trip, man. So the lead singer seems like he dropped like 50 too many hits of acid in his lifetime.
Oh my gosh.
But he was a
That's like
sweetheart.
your opinion.
And Frank Hannon, the guitar player, is the most normal person I've
Yeah.
ever. Everybody had a different vibe in that band. But they were like they sounded really good.
That's good.
It was really impressive how good they sounded.
You guys eating this fucking slop?
The bass player said that.
It's like, bro, you've been eating slop for your whole career. What are we talking about here?
Then demands a hooker.
In Indiana.
Never a good idea.
Oh man.
I'm assuming, having never procured a lady of the night for myself, that Indiana is not where I would go if I was looking for a good one.
He sent it to the runner.
And the runner delivered.
Somebody delivered.
Sometimes you got to work, keep that job, make a paycheck.
It's the world's oldest profession.
Welcome back to Burning Bridges.
I didn't burn any bridges. I was just literally describing David Allen Coe as he walked into the gig.
Yeah, I was literally describing my
Exactly. So there's no bridges burned.
I don't have any stories like that. Do I have?
Oh, I bet you do, man.
I'd have to search through my
I feel like
files.
everybody's got at least one. It doesn't have to be about another person. A dog shat on my cables at one of my first gigs ever.
I don't have any
Three-legged dog.
crazy. Well, okay. I mean, I've got stories, but nothing like as funny.
That's funny.
I have some horror stories. I've got lots of horror stories.
Sure.
I was playing at this. I used to do a lot of Latin pop tours
Yeah.
because I lived in Miami, and I was playing at a show that was outdoors. I don't know where in Mexico it was, but it was like right by the beach. So it was like, southern Mexico or whatever. Really hot and humid. We're playing outside, and we walk out to the stage, and there are tons and tons of insects and bugs just flying all over the place. Like bugs I've never seen in continental United
Prehistoric
States.
shit.
Prehistoric is the word because so the way I was standing, I stand right next to the other guitarist. We stand side by side, and there's small bugs flying all over the place. And then there's occasional big prehistoric hard-shelled bugs flying that I've never seen. They're not cockroaches. They're not beetles. I don't know. Maybe they're beetles.
Keep them away from me.
We're playing, and I feel this like chunk on my leg, and I look down, and I swear to God, it was this huge flying bug with a shell that was like this big. It was huge. Like I could feel my pants like sag a little bit because it was stuck onto me. And you're playing a gig in front of thousands of people, and you want to keep your composure. And I signaled to the other guitarist like, "Help me!" Basically, help me. And I showed him my leg, and he's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." So he proceeds, I think he grabs a towel and while we're playing a song, tries to smack the bug off my leg, and it would not budge, and I can't wiggle it off. And finally he just bats it off, and then it's on the stage floor right by my pedal board, belly up, just like this. I'm like, oh my God, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever
That's when
seen.
you kick it at somebody in the audience.
I did not touch it. I didn't want. I didn't. If I kicked it and it smashed and all these guts were all over my pedal board, no. But that was one of the scary. I don't mind bugs. I have, colleagues.
You live in Tennessee. You have to have a tolerance for bugs at least to a certain threshold.
I have colleagues that I've toured with that are deathly afraid of bugs, and I'm not like that, but when they're big and prehistoric
and unidentified,
yeah,
nothing. No, thank
I don't know
you.
if they're poisonous.
Our friend Billy Freeman and a podcast guest, Billy Freeman. There's a video from 2016, 2017. He's playing a gig, and I think it's in Michigan, and it's mayfly swarms.
Oh God!
I can't do that.
So I grew up in Metro Detroit, Michigan. And
is that a thing up there?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Every spring, it's it's biblical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
same
just-
with Louisiana and Mississippi.
It's ridiculous. It's swarmed. You get outside, your windows of your house are just covered. Your car is covered. Your handle's covered. And you kind of get used to it.
Every time you drive.
Yeah, it's crunch, 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 crunch down your street or whatever. And you get used to it or whatever. But when it's nighttime and there's lights and they're all swarming, when they're flying is when it's the worst. Because once in the daytime, they're they've landed and they might have just died when they landed or whatever, and they're just a nuisance. But when they're active and they're swarming, it's totally biblical.
Dude,
That's
we had mayflies, some June bugs, but the worst was probably love bugs. Do you know what those are? Oh. Love bugs are they swarm in their mating season.
Yeah.
But they also fly and mate at the same time.
Yeah.
So you'll see them they'll stick together like this, facing away from
and
each other.
They're real slow.
And then they fly around at the same time. Yeah. And then you would drive if you drove on the interstate, your car would just be
Smacked.
fucking covered in them.
That's gross.
Nature.
Nature. Yeah.
I can understand why now you want to stay home and make videos. Experiences like that, ladies and gentlemen.
It's true. In fact, I have a Morgan RCA 35 head that still has a colony of dead flies stuck that have died in it from one of the gigs that I did 5 years ago.
Damn.
What? That's disgusting.
What do they call that? Not taxidermy, but when you do it with insects. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
That you've seen. Everybody's had an elementary school science fair, or I guess not everyone has. I don't mean to be assumptive or presumptive. Yeah. So sorry. That's fun rabbit hole. I can't. Oh, you asked me that question.
Yeah,
I was like, how did I get there? I didn't get there. You got there. So I feel less bad now that I know what happened.
I'm taking over this podcast.
Welcome back to RJ and Beer. No, what about guitars? You obviously have a stable. I see you playing a bunch of different stuff. This is trending towards top of the list right now. If you would have brought your other favorite guitar right now, what would you have brought?
I was going to bring my Jeff Sen Strat, Fullerton Strat. That's just like, I have maybe like 7 Stratocaster style guitars,
sure,
and that's my number one. There's just something about the way he builds, and I know you had other players here that own Sen guitars and everything.
Yeah.
There's just something about them that are, I don't know. I think it's because me and Jeff have the same taste in what we like in a guitar. So when he built it for me, I just told him, I didn't give him any specs or anything. I'm like, build me a guitar that you would build yourself. And I fell in love with it. Yeah. So
I've never played one. I've definitely heard a bunch of people play them, and obviously, notably Tom Bukovac has recorded endlessly with his, and they are super nice guitars. I typically don't have those custom build guitars. I never have. I played a bunch of great ones. I came into that Nash and I saw somebody selling it, and I was like, I could use another Telly, and if I don't like this one, the price is where I could stand to make some money, so I'm going to buy it. And then, of course, I loved it, and so now I've got it over here. But that's not typically the route I go. But I'd also played several of those, and I'm a kind of a paradox of myself, because I don't ever intend to buy an instrument with plans of selling it.
Mm-hmm.
But certain builders, it's like if you're buying a custom guitar, there's no way it can retain its value unless it's something like a Sen or an early Nash or whatever that have become notable in their own right, just because of the build qualities or whatever. So, but that doesn't make any sense because I don't intend on selling most guitars.
I'm the same way. Like I try not to look at buying guitars as just an investment. It has to, like, I'm going to play them. I buy the guitars I'm going to play. But I don't know if at some point I'll get into like collecting vintage guitars, because I've been having like I kind of want to corner like the archtop guitar market. Like, I'm not interested in 59 Les Pauls like other people are.
Yes,
I'm interested in a 51 Super 400 or some crazy Gibson archtop, because I don't know what it is. Maybe it's from my youth. Like, those were the guitars that always caught my eye, which is like the obnoxiously big jazz guitars.
Yeah.
They're just like totally gaudy, and
I've heard you play jazzy stuff. Do you play like straight ahead, like jazz stuff?
Very
I don't know that I've heard you do that.
Very rare. It's been a long time it's been since college since I've played straight ahead jazz stuff, but I like listening to it.
Sure.
I don't play it enough, and I don't practice it enough.
It's a use it or lose it thing in my experience.
Yeah. But when I get a chance, like if I have a nice, archtop guitar, I'll mess around with whatever's chord melody stuff or something.
Sure.
But it's not my number one bag necessarily.
Oh, me either, but I just find myself drawn to it. Maybe it's because it's something that I struggle with the most, or at least to my ears, and other people like this guy over here is a monster jazz guitar player. I mean, he's a great guitar player in many regards, but jazz guy, he's definitely the jazz guy on the show.
Nice.
But I still play jazz gigs.
Sure.
And guys like him and our other friend Tony Campanovo say it's like they like my jazz playing because it doesn't sound like school. It's like, well, damn it, I'm trying to sound like school.
Well, that's the thing.
You got really cool phrasing too. You also have you lived in Dallas, so you have inherent Dallas stuff that's like, I don't know if you've been to Dallas, but or if you're familiar with some of those dudes. Like, I mean, Mark Lettieri is another one, but like those dudes have inherent jazz language and phrasing that is not just a jazz thing. It's like almost just a Dallas thing.
Well, I I don't know. I feel like as Wes Stevenson said, a big musical liar. So
It's all about faking it.
Sure.
till you make it. You heard it here first, kids.
You are listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Bobby Jam's Kitchen. Want to elevate your home cooking skills? Need new recipe ideas or meal inspiration? Want to see what guests are eating here before the podcast? Like, follow, and subscribe to Bobby Jam's Kitchen on Instagram and TikTok for tips, tricks, and recipes. At Bobby Jam's Kitchen. Cook your food and eat it.
He's gonna like do his own streaming site and
Didn't
like
Kanye do that too?
did he?
Kanye like released this player. Don't you remember? He made his own player that you can only get his new album on or something.
Didn't Neil Young as well?
No,
left
Neil Young
Spotify.
and Jay-Z had a
Tidal.
Yeah, they had a company called Tidal.
Was Tidal theirs? I thought
Yeah,
Neil
Jay-Z's,
Young
I
released
think.
something
It was
else.
like FLAC files streaming.
Yeah, is Tidal
the-
not a thing anymore?
No, I think
it
it
is.
still is.
Yeah, okay. I know about Tidal. I didn't realize Neil Young was involved
that
in
was
that.
Neil Young
Okay.
and
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z and somebody else. I
Okay.
can't remember who it was exactly, but
Tidal sounds significantly better. I don't know
yeah,
if you guys
they're
have checked it
they're,
out.
they're
If you're-
high-res
yeah.
FLAC
Yeah.
files.
If you're an
How could they not?
audiophile, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like in a car and you're just on the interstate, even like you play it back to back between Spotify and Tidal, it's crazy how much better Tidal sounds.
Which is crazy to me because most of the streaming, like good recording, still comes through streaming. You know,
Of course, yeah. But you just don't realize. I mean, it's
yeah, that's probably what it is. Well, but like when I'm listening to something that I've recorded and I'm listening to a high quality file on my computer, and then I switch between something that's streaming that's done well. Like I don't really notice it.
really.
Now, that may be different if I were the exact same song between a stream and something that I'm listening to high res on my.
Dude, I noticed a difference between something I haven't bounced out of the DAW and a high resolution file that I printed. Do you not feel that way? Maybe the DAW just is louder, and so it sounds better.
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know.
I think it's the way that it sums everything when you're listening to it
Yeah.
in the DAW, and then when it's bounced out.
Um,
I don't know.
That's
I'm
pretty-
not an
that's
engineer.
that
that's a
sounds like
pretty
it makes
poignant
sense.
But, like, I
and
hear it,
reflective
too.
thought.
I'm not enough to know. I'm not enough.
It's
of
the
an engineer
summing.
to know.
You're not
Whatever
enough
the
to
hell
know.
that means.
You're just not enough to know, man. That's stupid. All that to say, Funky Knuckles, check them out. Let's do it, man. Let's do the questions.
Yeah.
I got all these fun questions that I curate weekly, so they're not always the same. There's a lot of them that are the same.
Do I have to answer them as fast as I can, or just?
You don't have to. The beauty about this is you can do whatever you want.
All right.
We have done rapid fire. I have done. Sometimes I ask for elaboration based on someone's hesitation to answer or something. I mean, it's not like it's nothing bad or anything, but anyway. So the first question is and will always be Metallica or Megadeth.
Metallica. I was never a big Megadeth fan growing up. Yeah, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and
Just didn't get into them, or like didn't.
here's
like
the thing. I can't get into Dave Mustaine's voice, and it kills.
I understand.
The songs are great.
Do you also not like Rush?
Oh, I love Rush.
Okay, so it's interesting to me. I usually find that people that don't like one don't like.
I can
both.
handle Geddy
I
Lee's
love-
voice.
I love both.
Yeah,
I also love Metallica. To full disclosure.
yeah. I mean, they're all great bands. I just got more into Metallica at the time when I was growing up.
You don't have to apologize to me or anything.
Oh, no.
I'm just. And I'm not trying to like get Lars all fired up at somebody for saying that they like Megadeth, or Dave fired up at whatever. I love them both, so everybody relax. Miles or Coltrane?
I probably listen to more Miles Davis than Coltrane.
Do you actively listen to that old kind of jazz stuff?
I do, and as a guitar player, you would
Playing
think
kind of sounds like you. Again, like I said earlier, it's got jazz vocabulary.
I am. Yeah, well, I did study jazz in college, and I have like a huge appreciation for jazz. Miles to me is just like I can listen to pretty much every Miles record and enjoy it. I have to be in a mood for Coltrane sometimes.
There are definitely Coltrane records I don't want to listen to, but the ones that I love, man, do I love them.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. Metheny or Scofield?
Who? Oh, God, man.
In the perfect world,
and again,
you don't have to choose.
No, and again, I probably have listened to more Scofield than I have Metheny.
Interesting. I find that a lot, and that was just not my experience growing up. Everybody, I didn't know anybody listened to Scofield. Everybody listened to Metheny. For my so I went to music school studying jazz guitar in the 90s. I felt like everyone was listening to Metheny and Mike Stern more. Sure. I got into the other stuff. I was more into Scofield. I was more into...
You graduated high school in 94?
94.
Okay.
So I was in late 90s, I was in college.
That makes sense.
And I was more into like the old school jazz, Wes Montgomery.
Sure.
Scofield was also really popping in that mid-90s era.
Yeah.
He had some really fucking awesome albums in that era.
Yeah. He had some really great jazz albums, and then he started collaborating with like Medeski, Martin Wood, and got more into the funky jam band.
Yeah. Was that
There's
late 90s?
A couple records, maybe 3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in college. Yeah. When
maybe early 2000s was a go-go, but there was other great stuff like he had some Joe Lovano records, Wabash or whatever.
Yeah, Wabash.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Man, an undersung record of his from the early 90s is Still Warm. It's like pretty,
yeah, dude.
Pretty like complex harmonically as he will be, but it's like a really like laid back also kind of a record.
Have you checked out Blue Matter?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's the one.
Is it really? I mean, I don't know because I kind of came in
seminal
via the more jazzy records than like the like 80s kind of stuff.
From what I understand and what I hear people talk about when they talk about Scofield, I hear 3 records of the most: Blue Matter, A Go-Go, and Loud Jazz.
Yeah.
I don't even know which
two
one
of those
Loud
are
Jazz
Dennis
is.
Chambers.
Loud Jazz was early or late 80s, I think.
Yeah, late 80s.
So was
mid 80s even.
Blue Matter was like either
Blue Matter was
89
also 80s,
or 90 or something.
I believe Loud Jazz was before.
Yeah, that's one
really?
of the early ones.
Okay. So it's like directly post Miles Davis.
He did. Chris Rodriguez, episode 2 guest, actually turned me on to. There's a Scofield live at Lincoln Center in New York. Huh?
Trio?
No, so what it is it's 2 different bands, and it's soft jazz and loud jazz. The first band is like what's his name on drums? I'm not gonna be able to think of anybody's name. Old school, straight ahead sounding cats, and then the second band is like Dennis Chambers and
funky guys,
whoever. I think maybe Christian McBride or somebody's even playing with him in the first set.
Oh, wow.
It's like a bunch of like heavy hitters on both sets.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's super cool, and like I think the first one is he's playing into. I can't remember, but the second one was just like a deluxe and a AC30 for the loud jazz, and he sounds amazing.
Yeah,
it's a super killing recording and performance though.
He was doing a Mesa Mark something
for his straight ahead thing.
Yeah,
that may be what it is. I can't remember. It's been a minute since I saw that, but
he had a telly phase through too.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Well, I want to say recently, but it could have been like in the early 2000s or something.
I just always see him playing his signature.
Yeah, no, he had I remember he was playing like tellies for a little bit, which was the same time. I feel like him and Bill Frisell were both like on this telly trip for the same amount of years or something.
Tellies are awesome. Cutting boards with strings.
You can't beat them.
Or whatever. Yeah, that's the beauty. You can beat them on anything. And
You can beat them. Okay.
Tellies, you can beat them. You heard it here first.
I like my women like I like my tellies.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Just kidding.
Really? Wow. Okay, so let's
With
move
a
on
wound
here.
G-string.
We're gonna
with the
stick
G-string.
We're gonna stick guitar for a moment. Vi or Satriani?
Oh, this is another great one. Now that I'm older, I think Vi I appreciate more. But when I was a kid, so I grew up in the mid. I started playing guitar in the mid '80s. I started getting into guitar in the late '80s, and I had to make a decision who I would like more, Steve Vai or his teacher, Joe Satriani. And it just made more sense to me to be like, well, I need to study Joe Satriani more because he was the one that taught Steve Vai.
And Kirk Hammett.
Yeah, and a whole bunch, Alex Skolnick from Testament or whatever.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people. So I was hyper-focused on Joe Satriani. I mean, I listened to all of the Steve Vai stuff. David Lee Roth, Flexible, Passion and Warfare, all that stuff.
Flexible, you mean Frank Zappa Light?
Yeah, right? That was a great album, by the way.
It was a great... He's got so many great albums.
But I stood in line for 2 hours at a mall to get Joe Satriani's autograph for the Flying in a Blue Dream album.
You know, I was always drawn to Steve Vai's writing more.
Yes.
And so as virtuosic of a player and as influential as he was on those guys, you know, arguably varying degrees, whatever. I was just always in the Steve Vai camp. And, you know, Gary Hoey had that one tune in the mid-'90s. What was it called? Endless Summer 2 or something like that?
Yeah, he did the soundtrack for the Endless Summer 2 movie.
Well, there was like a title track or something that they were like straight up playing on rock radio. It was about,
wow.
I think it was around a couple of years before like Cliffs of Dover, which also made the same rock stations.
I was going to say
Dallas.
Eric Johnson was more my guy than any of those.
Yeah, you know, Eric Johnson's another one that it's like he's great, but the writing never drew me in. And
some of that early Vi stuff that you showed me really turned me on to Vi. Because before that, I wasn't like a huge fan.
There's a record called Fire Garden Suite by Steve Vai. You familiar with that record?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got on CD.
So like the singing and there's a double CD, if I'm not mistaken, because I think that was about 6 months of my life in high school. Like that thing did not come out. I think it came out in '98. Man, that's like, and his piano playing and his guitar playing.
I had no idea that
it's
he did the piano
so
stuff.
good, man, and the songs are so good.
Yeah,
and there's just the breadth of writing, I think.
And it changes from album to album. Like the style is so different from album to album.
From Flexible to Fire Garden, like those are that's an evolution of an artist for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
he definitely has a more interesting catalog, I would say. I think for me, Satriani, when I was young, was more accessible as far as like, okay, I can play some of those licks.
That's California guitar rock, man.
Well, Vi was just out of this world. Satriani was like, I could play some of this stuff.
Man, I think for me, like Eric Johnson's playing and just like his overall sound, I just kind of like connected. I mean, Avia Musicom was like,
huge.
You said that you didn't like all the songwriting, but I actually like. I mean, a lot of people talk shit about Eric Johnson singing, but I kind of liked it. It's like very cheesy and like kind of whiny, but like it fits the music really well, and like. Man, he just like fucking burns on some of those tracks.
The thing about Eric Johnson, when he started becoming, when he's Avia Musicom, when he started getting popular and more mainstream and he was actually on the radio, he came out at a time when, you know, the Shredders were becoming big, and you had all this modern shit, like modern guitars, modern amps, and everything.
Yeah.
And here you have this guy with a 50 Strat and a Marshall stack with like a,
dude, totally,
a Chandler
and using
Tube
like
Screamer.
like racks and stuff.
Yeah, and it was cool.
Yeah.
So it kind of like flipped the whole. I want to say it flipped the gear industry too, because here was a guy that was just using vintage gear and shredding.
Oh, he was worried about like the level of juice in his batteries.
His batteries, yeah. He knew the difference between the batteries and everything.
He famously said, good tone is a full-time job.
It's true. Well, for him especially.
But he proves it, man. Like, his tone is incredible on those records.
It is on the records. I've seen him live several times, and there was an iteration where he was like, it might have even been Renee or somebody, was like tweaking to his specs, reissue twins. And actually, my dad has one that he got a hold of, and it sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also like
it was one of his, and
he
it
had a
sucks.
particular thing, kind of like John Mayer or Brad Paisley, where like I don't know if it's necessarily the scooped mid thing, but he has like a very particular tone that like doesn't necessarily fit into everybody's arsenal.
Sure.
Like it to me always sounded very particular.
It sounds like him.
Yeah.
Like no matter what situation you put
It's
him in,
not something I would say
like
that
him.
everybody could make that tone sound good.
No, it's like it's just a beautifully shaped, like mid-rich kind of thing.
Well, and he's a very legato. Even if
Yeah.
he's picking everything, his notes are very connected. Like there's something about the way that he plays that like makes.
I think they call it touch.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have it.
No.
You have your own. You have your.
I have
thing,
brute
man.
force is what I've got. Now, this is the stupidest question that I'm going to ask you, or at least arguably. And you have to pick between Yngwie and James Burton.
Yngwie all the way.
I think that's the first time that's gone that way. Oh, shit. Something's about to get real. It's an Yngwie pick. What is that, 1.5?
I think this is the 1.14,
Oh, 1.4?
I believe.
Looks pretty other.
This is actually a really good pick. So Dunlop just started putting out the Yngwie Malmsteen picks.
I didn't know that.
Feel
Yeah,
it.
let me see
Just
it.
feel it.
Dude, that
It's
feels...
nothing special, but there's like a weird bevel that has that the other ones don't have.
Dude, this is a 1.4 or 1.5.
It might be. Well,
Oh,
I want to say it's a 1.14.
This is...
Who's got calipers? I can't remember. This might be a 1.5.
This is a 1.5.
Let me see. Yeah, it's a 1.5. The yellow ones I have are 1.14.
That's a great thickness for a pick. I honestly, I can't, for my, like, the way I prefer for it to feel, I like the big 1.14 at a minimum. Tracking on acoustics and stuff like that, like obviously you got to do a bunch of different things to achieve whatever texture you're looking for. And I have all those picks are for that. But if I pick up a guitar, I'm gonna play, one of these two or a 1.14 version of that pick. That's just what I like. But on acoustic guitar, everything's changed.
Oh yeah.
You know?
What's your setup in videos typically? Like, I guess signal chain
For my videos? For audio?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you're demoing pedals,
So,
but
yeah, I have
you probably have kind of a typical thing.
Yeah,
to do.
so I have, like I was saying, I have all like 4 pedal boards hooked up to one thing, and then I've got this amp switcher by a company called Lill. I think they're in Indiana. Kind of a budget-friendly amp switcher that switches between a bunch of amps. And I've got this shelf of a bunch of amps. I got a Friedman Twin Sister, Amplified Nation, Steel String, Sultan. I've got the Divided by 13 BTR 23, which I bought from Brett Papa recently. And I run through the switcher. It's really intricate now. So I run it through the switcher. Yeah. The switcher goes to... Okay, does it go to... I think it goes to a 2-notes Captor X. So I don't have an aux. I have a 2-notes system. But it's got 2 XLR outs.
Those are not variable ohmage, are they?
They are. The Captor X
They are.
is
That
the
one.
Captor X
is it 4816 or is it
486.
just... Okay.
I think it's 486.
It does all 3, yeah. Very affordable version.
Yeah, and it's small.
I'm gonna get one because I would like to have a second no mic.
Yeah.
option.
It's really good. It's really good.
That's what Saul uses. Saul tracks with that shit
Oh,
in his
yeah.
house.
That's crazy. Don't tell anybody. That's not using
He
real
said it on this
speakers.
podcast.
Okay. But then I go through that, and I bought these 2 boxes from a company called Revival Electronics. Now, I only heard of them because they were being sued by the company that makes the Revival drive. What is that company?
I got you.
But anyways, they were being sued, and I was looking up on Google who they were, and they made this box that you can hook up, basically
Origin
effects.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So Revival Electronics makes this box where you can hook up XLR inputs to your guitar pedals, to your instrument level thing. So if someone wants to plug in a mic into your guitar pedal, it's one of those boxes that does that. But I have my Captor X going into 2 of those, so I can have stereo effects going into my computer. So I have my chorus and my delay going stereo via these boxes. It's really crazy, just so I could have like a
Options.
left right.
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
delay.
I dude, if you're especially if you're demoing anything that has stereo outs,
Yeah, that helps a lot.
absolutely, you want to show
But it actually,
what it's intended for.
yeah, but it actually came from my obsession over 80s rack systems, like
Do you have some of those?
Lukather and Landau and everything. I don't have a rack system, but I wanted to recreate a modern version of having a stereo signal when I recorded guitars and
dope.
everything.
Yeah, that stuff is really cool. Have you checked out any Petty John stuff?
I never got one of those pedals. No,
Dude, they're
good.
You've got one.
I have the chime on
Man,
my board.
when you said like rack mount or just, I think also like studio grade
Origin
gear
and Petty
in
John are
pedal
kind of doing
form.
the same thing. They're trying to bring studio grade to your pedal
So the
board.
racks onto pedals. Yeah.
Yeah.
and just literally the highest quality parts. They're doing like small batch runs right now. They had supply
They
chain
changed
issues.
their whole vibe. The iteration of the
I
chime.
like it.
I was trying to look up exactly the parameters of the dip switches and I was just trying to look up the specifics on the pedal the other day, and I was also kind of wondering. I've heard that some of them run at 18 or 9.
Dude, they are doing
well.
36 now.
Well, and then I saw
Yeah.
that, but I'm positive that mine doesn't do that. I can't find the manual for mine.
No,
it's
the
so
chime.
early.
You have the version 1 chime, which only does 18, but the version 2.
So it doesn't only do 18 because I've been running it at 9.
No, sorry. It only goes up to 18.
Oh, so it does go up to 18?
Yes. Yeah. There's
That's what I thought, but I was trying to figure that out before I blasted it with 18.
No, there's
You don't
a
wanna do
dip.
that.
There's a dip
I did
switch.
not wanna
There's
do
a dip switch that you want to flip.
Inside?
Yes, and then you run it at like with a barrel. Actually, you know what? I think it may be internally switching. I think you can run it single.
9 and internally convert to 18?
I believe so.
My-
I could be totally wrong.
I got
on
the
that.
slide rig,
Yeah.
which is 18, but you have to like run it at 18.
They've got it must be internally switching because they're running 36 now on some of their pedals just to have the insane option of like tons of head. Like basically they want the pedal to be able to run either kind of dirty, mid dirty, or clean.
Way to pick like the only pedal he's not demoed.
I've never had
Dude,
any
I'm trying
Petty
to sell you
Johns.
on this. I'm trying.
I'm interested
Dude,
now.
you should hit them up. They've got like if you're into rack mount stuff, it probably means you're into like high grade
components. And all that stuff.
yeah, and that is their thing. It's not. I mean, it's not.
They're also built
Hand-wired,
like fucking
but-
tanks. Not that you're like dragging them all over the place, but I am, and they're built like tanks.
Also, like hearing your tone, just from your guitar, just like direct in type thing. I feel like you would really dig.
Yeah.
The style of what they do.
subtle. It's subtle, and
it's worth the
versatile.
the extra 10%.
I mean, their shit is expensive, man. Like
Is
one
it
of them. Oh yeah, the newest, the Silver Run is $400. But I think they're one of the few that is absolutely worth it. They are.
I think that
top notch.
I bought that chime off of Butler for like $200.
That was back in the day, but they have pedals that run around there. You know, maybe the new run is $300. But you can easily find.
You know, that I still love finding good pedals. Like, you know, for example, I've got my Lightspeed back in the day. You a fan of the Lightspeed?
Here's the thing. Okay, I haven't gotten into the Lightspeed. I've tried so many times to put it on my board, and I think a lot of it has to do with like a lot of my friends that hyped it up before I bought it. So I don't know. I think I had an expectation, but I don't know. What is the best setting for the Lightspeed? Is it low gain?
I think so.
Okay.
I
is
run
it useless higher gain? I mean, not useless, but like
it depends on the general darkness of your vibe. If you're going for, you know, Holdsworth, it's not a good pedal.
No.
But to me, I love it. I have bright hands. I like bright sound.
It's early in your gain stage, right?
I have.
Yeah.
So I'm actually running all of my overdrive pedals highest to least right now. So it's going.
Oh wow.
It's going. I was reading somewhere about how
it makes sense compression.
I was actually reading a Pete Cornish article about gain stage or like stacking, yeah. And I think it was pretty old, so who knows if that even makes sense anymore. But I'm trying it, and I really like it. So I got my Timmy first, which is the highest gain that I have on my board. Then I've got Lightspeed, and then
Chime.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lightspeed, and then Chime, and then a GE7, and then a V1 Lemonade, which is a super
That's
cool
your
pedal.
lightest. The Lemonade is
the Lemonade is a boost, but it could also work very easily as a always on pedal.
I thought the Lemonade had a lot.
Oh, I'm sorry. The pedal that I missed in there is it's a Timmy Lightspeed Golden Secret.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah,
what?
That's right.
That's something I've never tried. Is going high to low.
I hadn't. That's the only time I've ever.
In
done
terms
it.
of compression,
I like
it makes the most sense because the more gain you have, the more compression you have, right?
I like the way that
in a lot of
those
cases.
pedals stack in that way better. I like the way that I had them before because I was doing the opposite because that's what I've always
Lower
done.
gain pedals
Sure.
will increase the.
It's more usable, like using them on their own and then stacking them like that without like
I have a problem with like
level.
I do the
Gotcha.
opposite because I just haven't thought.
Well,
about
here's
that. Yeah.
now I've been thinking it for like a split second. It would make sense because I almost feel like your low gain pedals are mimicking the sound of an overdriven amp.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you treat your low gain pedals as like the front of an amp, you want your higher distortion pedals are going into that warm amp or whatever.
Exactly.
So now
That
it
makes
kind of
sense.
makes sense.
That does make sense.
I got to try because I've never.
Dude, that's cool. I'm
Never
absolutely
thought about it.
changing mine. For that.
I've been liking it.
And if it sucks, I'm going to call you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, so my next question is going to be the final pick'em guitar player question, and it's going to be Petrucci or Gilbert.
Oh, Paul Gilbert for sure. And that's just like my taste growing up. I was more into Paul Gilbert. I think, Dream Theater came out at a time where I was not interested in guitar music.
Totally.
Early 90s, I would say, was when I started listening to Dream Theater, and by then I was listening to Nirvana and listening to Pearl Jam and what have you, and kind of getting, like, early 80s, or not, like mid 80s, late 80s, I was into shred stuff, getting into guitar stuff, and then once it started flipping in the 90s to grunge and all this stuff, I was listening to...
Were you in like CC and Nuno and that kind of 80s shred? Or
everything.
Okay, just...
Yeah.
And
then
the metal...
at some point I got, like a lot of people were just getting tired of so much copycat metal things, and MTV was probably the cause of that as well. So when Nirvana came out and all that stuff, it was a breath of fresh air for people, including me. Even though as a guitar player, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to listen to Steve Vai or whatever anymore. So by then, I had already listened to like Racer X and all that stuff. So I was deep into Paul Gilbert and stuff. And then I rediscovered him probably, I think it was after college. I started listening to more of the Paul Gilbert solo stuff and the later Racer X stuff, and just getting back into the shred stuff. But
do you know that song, Curse of the Castle Dragon?
Yeah.
Okay. So I always, that's the one I always bring up, because I had never heard of Paul Gilbert until like 2009.
Wow.
And I was teaching, and one of the teachers next to me was like working on it because the student didn't show up, and my student finished, and I had a break, and I was like walking out, and I was like, man, what the fuck is that? And I walked in there, and he told me, so I like went and listened to that record, and it wasn't really, it didn't speak to me at the time, but like I was just like, oh wow, man, like I need to remember this and come back to it, and I did eventually later, and what a freak.
Yeah. I mean, I went through a Petrucci phase and Dream Theater phase at some point.
They had good records, but it wasn't ever for me.
Yeah, I mean, you really had to get into it deep to really appreciate it. And I think I had bought a DVD. This was the early 2000s. I bought a DVD as like Dream Theater live at Budokan. And I watched it, and I listened to the live album, everything. That was the one thing that I dug about Dream Theater, but everything before and after, I wasn't paying attention.
Did you ever go down the extremely dorky and amazing path of like Symphony X and Planet X and those kinds of bands? The X bands?
No. Absolutely not. I don't even know who the guitar players were in those bands.
Have you heard of those bands?
I've heard of Symphony X, yeah.
So Symphony X, the guitar player's name is Michael Romeo. And if you would please make a note for me to put the Michael Romeo solo compilation from his instructional series.
There you go.
It's like a play-along series. The dude looks like he's about to participate in Scarborough's Fair or something. And he is fucking Sean Lane,
my God,
style shredding. Maybe not quite. Nobody's Sean Lane, but like
I think they make
a facility like Sean Lane.
Caparison makes his signature model, and I only know that because I bought a Caparison guitar.
Makes Michael Romeo's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My buddy Andrew, who's a sound designer and a composer for video games, who was on this podcast, he's got a Caparison endorsement, and he's the only other person that I've ever seen playing them, and his sound great for what
guitars.
He does. He's got like 2 8s and a 7 or something.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's fancy. I got mine custom painted, leopard print, white and pink leopard print.
I would love for you to send me a picture of that.
I'll show it to you after this podcast.
I have not.
I'm never going to sell that guitar. It looks amazing.
That's a pretty special axe, dude. All right, so I said no more guitar players, but I do have one bass player.
All right.
I've been working on this one, and this is my favorite question of all time, and it's a typo, but I kept it. Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee?
What? What?
Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee? It was supposed to be a different bass player, but it says Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee.
Okay. Geddy Lee, but the Geddy Lee that had a Steinberger and had his mullet in a ponytail.
Oh, so late
that
70s,
era.
early 80s.
Early 80s Geddy Lee.
Yeah. So we're talking like Power Windows.
Yeah. I mean that
Grace Under Pressure.
where they were just wearing like, Miami Vice suits.
Man,
basically any artist of that era that was wearing a Miami Vice Don Johnson suit.
A drummer friend of ours, Matthew Krause, Working Drummer Podcast, sent me this interview that House of Strombo, which is something I don't know what it is, but it's an interview from like 6 weeks ago with Getty and Alex about what they're going to do moving forward. And I haven't listened to it yet, but I intend to. I think I've said that before on this podcast. The two most underrated guitar players of all time are Alex Lifeson and Dean DeLeo, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Just guys literally swimming in the mainstream that no one talks about.
Yeah. You're right. Especially Dean, because
Especially Dean.
just that songwriting and the riff writing.
Dude, the riff writing. That record with him and Book is
Oh, yeah.
also
That's freaking
sick
great.
as fuck. Trip the Witch. Okay, so now we got some more either ors, but we're not going to make you choose between people.
Oh, okay.
Humans with feelings, RJ. Jazz or metal?
I could probably listen to jazz more than metal. I mean, I love both, totally, and I listen to them both daily, but Desert Island, I think I can get deeper into jazz than, like, metal I could probably get sick of after a day or two.
A little harsh, dynamically speaking.
Yeah.
At times.
I mean,
So when you say metal, and you said you listen to it daily, like, give me an example of a metal band that
like,
you're listening to.
I would say
that means so many things to so many
Right.
people.
one of my more recent metal bands that I really like is Lamb of God,
Oh, yeah.
and like
Vintage Lamb of God, Laid to
the
Rest.
first two albums.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those are great records. Those are great records.
But like, from my youth, Metallica, Testament.
Testament's great.
It's funny, like,
Do you ever get into like Suffocation or Deicide or any of those like
no, because
really hardcore ones?
I have a really, really good friend from childhood that's into all kinds of metal, and he was into like Slayer and Deicide and the
Nile
heavier
and
stuff
shit like that.
Probably.
Dude, Nile is badass, by
Dude,
the
the
way.
thing is, like,
Undersung.
you're basically 10 years older than me,
Mhm.
and metal changed so drastically.
Oh yeah.
In the period between like that
85 and
that decade
95.
of like our youth or whatever.
Sure.
Like, I'm into all that shit, but like when I go back and listen to it, the stuff that I was like really into was like Dillinger Escape Plan,
Oh, yeah.
Mastodon, which is basically like the new Pantera. I mean, a very
reject that.
American metal.
Yeah.
No, they're super influenced by Pantera.
Mantera. I'm gonna
Found
make
the cover band.
I'm gonna make you
Mantera.
some T-shirts that say Mantera.
Please do.
I think that's a male strip club in Des Moines.
But you know what I mean? Like it changed pretty drastically. The fact that you're like Lamb of God, I'm like, okay, you actually
it's
listen
funny.
to metal.
I didn't listen to metal, the whole time I was listening to jazz and learning jazz and everything, really. And then, at some point in my, I don't know, mid-20s, late 20s, I think I was like, okay, what metal bands are out now? And like Lamb of God popped up. I'm like, I kind of like this.
It's riff worthy,
Yeah.
man.
I think at the time it was Avenged Sevenfold was out at the same time. I was listening to it. I'm like, okay, I think I like Lamb of God more than
Yeah.
Avenged Sevenfold. This type
More
of
so
metal.
than the like melodic kind of
Yeah.
almost poppy metal.
Man, Avenged Sevenfold was not something that I actively listened to, but I did 6 weeks on Ozfest with Dean Guitars, the 6-string Masterpieces tribute to Dime after his death.
Were you
And-
teching or playing?
So I was in a band that was an alternate for the second stage,
Okay.
and the only time that they needed us, our buses broke down. I was stuck in Youngstown, Ohio, but we were traveling with this. It's like famous people: Rob Zombie, Kirk Hammett, who the fuck ever. Sting is a name that came to mind. That's definitely incorrect, but
Sting the wrestler.
yeah, they took these Dean guitars and like decorated them as their tribute to Dimebag,
Sure.
and we just had these big cases when we were doing that. Whatever. Avenged Sevenfold was one of the main support for Ozzy. It was like Avenged Sevenfold, Disturbed, Ozzy, and Avenged Sevenfold and Disturbed are not two bands that I'm ever going to turn on my own, but they were they threw down so fucking hard. Both
Dude, I've
of
heard
those
Disturbed
bands.
is like really
Dude,
fucking killing live.
Dude, they blew everyone out of the water.
Wow.
But Avenged Sevenfold really impressed me because I thought the records were like kind of messy and whatever, and it was like right at the beginning of their, right as they started to pop or whatever. So,
but they were tighter live than on the record.
Oh man, it was like full production and like well done, this is before too many people were being accused of tracks and stuff.
Sure.
So it's possible that there was like things that were doubled in tracks, or maybe it was all tracks. I don't know. No chance that was the case with Disturbed because the arrangements were different and, you know, they medley stuff together. But what a high intensity show, and like sonically amazing show. Way better than Ozzy came on. It sounded like somebody turned it back on 720p. And this was a very drunk Zakk Wylde.
There was a like in the early 2000s when the new metal thing was getting big. I was starting to get into. Well, I was aware of everything that was going on because I was living in South Florida, and like a lot of new metal bands were.
Dude, I
out
love
of South Florida.
Deftones, man.
Deftones, yeah,
They're fucking.
Seven
great,
Dust
man.
was a really
Seven Dust.
Love
yeah.
Seven
Big
Dust.
fan.
I would put those dudes in a different thing because they've been doing it since the early 90s.
yeah.
With Black.
Deftones.
and
Deftones were like mid 90s.
Yeah, but the new metal movement was like late 90s, early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
Linkin Park and Deftones were definitely like.
I mean, I
forefathers,
would put Korn in the same category.
Korn,
I was
Limp
gonna say
Bizkit,
Yeah.
Korn
Marilyn
and Limp
Manson,
Bizkit and all that
Slipknot, all
Slipknot
that stuff.
You know, Slipknot. I guess that is new metal. Huh.
I haven't thought about them like that, but yeah, you could definitely.
Basically,
put them.
anyone that. So I went to Ozfest the first year that I vaguely remember this. I was still in college, but the first year of Ozfest, I remember going in West Palm Beach, Florida, and seeing Pantera and all these bands, and basically any band that came through the Ozfest filter, I consider.
Dude, that's like
new metal.
prime Ozfest too.
Yeah.
You got to see Pantera.
Yes.
Oh man.
And I totally don't. I can sort of visually remember where I was sitting, but it was so long ago. But it was awesome.
That's a sick concert.
So, moving along now.
Yeah.
We're going to get gear. We've done music, and we're not going to do beer, but let's do gear. Single coil or humbucker? That's kind of reductive, but that's the question I'm asking.
I'm going to say single coil because there's so many options. There's more options for single coil than humbucker.
I think I agree with you, but love a good humbucker.
Yeah. Low wind humbuckers for me if it's going to be a humbucker.
Totally. I can't do
Anything higher.
I don't like hot anything. It's like if this is the hotter it gets, the more it sounds like fat to me.
Yeah. I can make it hot with pedals and then the amp and
Totally,
everything. So if I start low, then I'm good.
Are you a volume knob or a volume pedal guy, or are you a hybrid? A lot of what you're doing.
I used to be a volume pedal guy in college because everyone was volume pedal. You had to have a volume pedal.
Pre or post gain?
Post gain.
See, that is something that I didn't even know was a thing till recently.
Yeah.
Well, 6 months ago.
Now I don't. I can do gigs without a volume pedal well, it depends on the gig, but
Agreed.
I usually ride my volume knob more than anything.
I'm a volume knob guy just based on how I run my amps, but for like really good swells or like no attack things, like I want a pedal. I don't want to try the pinky thing.
Oh no.
I don't have the time to like work that out the way I want to hear it.
Exactly.
Jazz bass or precision bass?
Wow. Well, I own a P bass. I don't own a jazz bass. I kind of wish I did have a jazz bass, to be honest with you. I like the look of the jazz bass more than the P bass, but I think all around the P bass sound is more usable for me.
That's what everybody says, and I disagree with all of them.
I love the sound of a jazz bass, but
I play a P bass almost every gig. I if I had to pick between one bass to do everything, I'd pick a jazz bass because it can do more, in my opinion.
Sure.
With that neck pickup, you can get a little P.
Yeah.
But you can't get a jazz bridge out of a P bass.
No. Well, that's why Fender put out those modern PJs.
I would love to get a really nice PJ 5-string.
Those are great.
Okay, this is the April. This is very stupid, and I'm very sorry, but you're here, so I'm doing it to you. JPJ Awareness Month is April. Do you know who JPJ is as the initials?
JPJ?
Yes.
John Paul Jones?
Yeah.
Okay. Awareness Month?
Do you know who that is?
John Paul Jones.
You do. I know you do.
The bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
For Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Yeah. You would be surprised how many people don't know who that is.
Well, it's funny because I when I lived in Miami in South Florida, there was a bass player named JPJ, but his name was Jean, like Jean. Jean P. Jams was his like stage name. So when you said JPJ, I'm like, oh, you know Jean P. Jams? I'm like, wait a second, this guy's never lived in Miami.
John Paul Jones is another one of the unsung greats. And yeah,
sure, as a musician as a whole.
People know, but like those parts, the man's parts are just insanely good and creative, and no one's ever sounded like him before or since. Is one of those kind of guys. And nobody's ever talking about him. I think that question originally, now that I think about it, was supposed to be Geddy Lee or John Paul Jones.
Ah, okay. Geddy Lee, 80s Geddy.
But we ended up with Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee.
1983 Geddy Lee.
If I'm asking you in this moment, and if you want to pass based on what you do for the majority of your living, that's fine. But do you have a favorite pedal?
Well, I'm going to assume it's a pedal that I tend to turn on more often than other pedals.
Yeah, let's say
Make
you're
it like
stuck
the
on
album
Gig
thing.
Island. You have an amp and a guitar, and you get one pedal. What pedal are you?
Well, it would have to be my signature Mythos Sus Mariosep. Version 2 coming out soon.
V1 is still out. Can we still get V1?
Not unless you find it used on Reverb. But I'll tell you, V2 is way better.
Can you send me a link?
Got you.
yeah.
I got you.
Or can I find a link?
For a used one on Reverb?
No, for the new one coming out.
Yeah, when it's out. It's not out yet.
Oh, there's no like a pre-order page or anything.
Not yet.
Okay.
We're still tweaking. But it's basically a boost, overdrive, delay in one pedal.
That's dope.
And
gonna
the
copy
delay is
the
really
OG.
simple.
It's
Yeah,
RJ's Compact Flyboard Deluxe.
that's it.
That's pretty dope. And I need
Everything you need.
one. I need one. Do you know a guy named Hobby Weiss by chance?
Hobby Weiss. The name I
Also
know.
friends with homie from Mythos, and he's building Hobby a pedal as well.
Hobby Weiss. Doesn't he cut hair?
Yep.
Yeah. He used to. So I used to go to Hawkins barber shop.
He's got his own spot in his basement now, and there's guitars on the wall and amps, and it's like a total vibe. And
He's making pedals.
he designed a fuzz circuit that what is my man's name with Mythos?
Zach.
And Zach is building him.
Oh, Zach got
Oh.
his haircut from Hobby. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It's only going to be available in Hobby's shop. It's this fuzz pedal, and he had like a circuit not in a box on the ground last time I was there, and he was like playing through it. It's like, check this out, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
I gotta check that. I gotta get my haircut at Hobby's place just so I can test
Honestly,
pedal out.
you need to get your haircut there just because Hobby is a great dude and does good work, and it's so vibey. He's the Basement Barber 615 on Instagram. It's literally in the basement of his house in East Nashville,
Nice.
and there's
Well, it's nice to know there's basements in East Nashville.
they exist, not just for the uber wealthy.
Oh my God. Basements are where it's at, man.
Dude,
Tell
that's what I'm trying to get. I almost made a house. I'll run a house yesterday until I found out it was in a floodplain.
You don't want a basement in the floodplain.
I don't.
No.
And it was like mild, and it's never flooded, but what if it does?
Yeah.
The guitars will be in the basement.
Yep.
Not a good look. Okay. Now, I want to know, I have 4 more questions for you, RJ. One is, and you said that you've essentially retired other than highly curated live gigs. You're doing your thing at the house and making videos. Do you have a favorite venue?
In town or around the world?
Where is the best venue you've ever played? It can be in the Moon if you've played one.
Well, the most interesting venue I've ever played is the Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee. I don't know if you guys have been there. The Rave, Milwaukee.
Oh, the Rave.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Rave, the very top is the big stage where it's the old ballroom.
Right.
And with just that whole venue as a whole, and the ghosts and the haunting and the excitement and the catering, it's really great. But that's always an interesting place to play, and I've
not had the pleasure yet. I certainly am aware of the lore associated, but I've never played there.
I played there last year for one of my 3 gigs. 3 gigs I did last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was.
According to you, it was.
So we actually played the Rave, I played with Corey Taylor, who is the singer from Slipknot and Stone Sour. So I was filling in, and when I filled in with Stone Sour, we played upstairs at the Eagles Ballroom, but last year we played at the Rave, and they redid the haunted parts, basically.
Did they?
Yeah. It's interesting. So if you go down to the basement, that's where the pool area is, which was like the major haunted place. But then I think they redid the dressing room, which was right by there.
Oh, interesting.
But I had to take a shower there by myself, and they redid the bathrooms. It was nice, but it was also like, oh my God, I'm fucking freaking out. You don't want to do that, and I've done that twice. So far, so good.
That would freak me out.
Yeah.
I do not envy that situation.
I don't dig with ghosts.
Off the top of your head, 3 Desert Island records. Like, you'll give me different answers tomorrow off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, 3 Desert Island records. Allman Brothers, Fillmore East. Jimi Hendrix, let's say Electric Ladyland. And then Wes Montgomery, Smoking at the Half Note.
Smoking at the Half Note is a great album. Smoking at the Half Note, underrated great album.
Yeah.
Do you have a guilty pleasure music?
Guilty pleasure music?
Is there a band that you listen to that you would think twice before telling a very bro
I'm
dude?
not guilty. Richard Marx's debut album. Well, the first 2 albums.
Oh,
of Richard
so you
Marx.
just like great songs?
Yeah.
Because that's what Richard Marx does.
Oh yeah. I bought his memoirs book. The thing is, like, I love reading autobiographies and I love reading memoirs of musicians, because then you get more into like the songs and the history and like it's more interesting. Yeah. Like
it's like learning how a computer works or being able to send an email.
Yeah. It's like, hearing a story about how a particular song was recorded, or certain musicians that were on the session were like, oh my God, and you go to Spotify to listen to it again.
Yeah.
And be like, oh my God, Richard Marx sang backup on Lionel Richie's All Night Long.
Dude, and he wrote so many freaking songs for other people too.
Oh yeah.
What a prolific son of a bitch. We're about to run out of camera time. I've got one last question. I have one last question, and then I want a recommendation.
Let's do it.
And then we're going to get out of here. So you're in the question, whatever. I'm calling it the King's Court. There's always way too much horrible explanation that accompanies that. So you have to pick between the Kings: BB, Albert, Freddie, Earl, Carol, King's X.
BB all the way.
You heard it here first. BB King
for me.
You're not. A lot of people pick BB King. There's no wrong answer, and the question's so rich with talent.
A lot of kings.
Then the last thing I'm going to ask you for is I would like for you doesn't need to be guitar specific. It doesn't need to be anything specific. I just want you to recommend a record for listeners to check out.
Ooh.
That maybe they have not checked out. Don't recommend Led Zeppelin 4.
No. Okay. Well, something that I was talking about to my viewers on my live stream was there's two. The new Josh Smith record and the new Andy Timmons record.
Oh.
Badass. It's like it ignited that whole guitar excitement back in my life. Both of those records, because they're totally different, but it's just like exciting.
Those are two extremely unique guitar players. First of all,
yeah.
Andy being a Dallas boy and a big fan, and Josh Smith not being a Dallas boy, but I'm a big fan. In 2 weeks, I don't think he's there this year, but last year at the Dallas Guitar Show, I play in a set called Masters of the Telecaster, and Josh was there last year. And if there's a master of the Telecaster, he's in the running.
A lot of telly sounds on the record.
Did you happen to make those notes for me?
Yeah, I
appreciate you. Okay, well that's all I got for you, RJ.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All of his links will be in show notes as usual. Linda McCarty, twisting and tweaking. I'm Bob. This is Gear and Beer. Thanks as always for listening, and stay hard. Keep jamming. Keep practicing, and we'll see you. Hey, thanks for listening to the Gear and Beer podcast. We would ask that you please be sure to tell your friends about the podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe and follow our Instagram and YouTube channels, as well as liking and commenting on our posts. Are there guests you want to see on the podcast? Topics you want us to talk about, or pieces of gear? Let us know. All these kinds of things feed the algorithms in a positive way and help us gain more traction, whereby enabling us to continue to bring you ever-improving content and guests. Thanks again, Gearheads. We truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you back here soon for another episode of Gear and